We have made very clear to the PRC that we will not allow any country, whether that is the PRC, whether that's any country around the world, to attempt to compensate Moscow for the losses it is suffering.
Some pretty tough words there. Congressman Jim Jordan joins us now to talk more about this. The situation between China and Russia, we talked a lot about it last night as well. Does it appear to you at this point that China is helping Russia in any way?
Well, it sure seems that way, Rob. Let's hope that it doesn't continue, doesn't escalate. Let's hope that what the Biden administration has said, that they won't assist Russia in any more than they may have already have done. And I think you also got to sometimes step back and ask, does China really gain long term? I mean, they do a lot of trading with us. President Trump was trying to make sure that trade was done appropriately, that they weren't violating international norms, that they weren't continuing to take intellectual property. He was, I think, taking the right position. So I think China has to step back and ask that question, too, long term. But we'll just have to see how this shakes out.
When you look at what we're expecting to see tomorrow, we've got Zelensky going to be speaking to Congress. He's going to address you guys, I think, at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
He's obviously going to ask for the jets again. He's going to ask for the no-fly zone. Where do you stand on those two issues?
Well, I think we got to be real careful about particularly any type of no-fly zone. Certainly one where you got American pilots. You got to be real careful about not going there. Look, we know that Russia's the aggressor here. They're the ones who are wrong, that this is evil and wrong what they're doing. We stand with the Ukrainian people, and we appreciate the leadership and the courage of the Ukrainian people and certainly President Zelensky. But I think we got to be real careful about us getting involved in a direct way. I pointed out, I was talking with some colleagues tonight, for 46 years or 40-some years from World War II until 1991, we did not directly engage against the Soviet Union, other than in the world of sports, it seemed. Mm-hmm. And that's even with the Berlin crisis and with the Cuban Missile Crisis in Cuba in the 1962. So I think we got to be real careful about that. There are ways to stand up to this in the appropriate way, like we did during the Cold War. I think we have to look at that same kind of posture, and I think that's what we're doing in many ways, and I think that's the appropriate course of action.
I want to ask you about something we got into a little bit in the last block, and that is Biden out there making these claims that they're reducing the deficit despite the huge amounts of spending that this country has seen over the last couple of years. Yeah. They do say that they've reduced it by I think $300 billion last year, and they say they're on track to reducing it another $1 trillion. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the president.
After 4 years in a row of increasing deficits before I took office, we're now on a track to see the largest ever decline in the deficit in American history.
Explain to us how on earth, with all of the spending in this country and a COVID outbreak, we've reduced the deficit.
Well, they're talking about the annual deficit is going to come down some because of the record increase in spending we had at the outset of COVID when we didn't know what this was, when we had the $2 trillion package that first happened. But when Nancy Pelosi earlier said, you know, if you increase spending, you're going to reduce the deficit. And that just doesn't, it's like saying, oh, if addition actually equals subtract. It makes no sense. This is the administration that told us that inflation was temporary, it was transitory, and that if you increase a bunch of spending, it's going to actually help. No one with any common sense believes that. And frankly, no one believes this administration can do anything right because every single policy area, Rob, that they have engaged in has been a disaster. The border's a disaster, inflation's a disaster, energy policy's a disaster. We went from safe streets to record crime. We've had attacks on our First Amendment liberties, and we've obviously seen their foreign policy, what they've done there, both with the exit from Afghanistan and now the situation that I think happened in Ukraine, largely because of the weakness projected from the Oval Office. So everything they have done has been wrong, and I think that's what the American people understand.
Yeah, I knew they must be playing some kind of a game. Because all they've done is just spend tremendous amounts of money. So when they came out with these statements, I was like, what kind of game are they playing here? You're somebody that would understand it better. Go ahead. Final word.
Well, I'm just going to say, think about it. They said, you know, they've defunded the police, they've opened the border, they've closed schools, they've canceled pipelines, and now they've given us $5 gas. And what's their response? Oh, go buy a Tesla, and we're going to spend more money and make everything great. No one believes that. It is craziness that we get from the Democrats, and the American people have common sense. There's a reason why 60-some% of the population, I think it's 63% of the population thinks we're on the wrong path. The real question to me is, who are these 37% who think we're on the right path with the Biden administration? So the country has figured it out.
I see them on Twitter every day. No matter what they do, they say it's the greatest idea they've ever heard. They're just all they see is partisan. That's all they see. Jim Jordan, good to see you. Thank you, sir.